Yeah. Chair, we do have a quorum now.
Wonderful. Thanks, Fabio. Cynthia popped on. Okay. Well, we can get started. Welcome, y'all. And thanks for setting up the hybrid capacity this evening and everyone being flexible with meeting in this capacity. So we'll get started with our land acknowledgement and then dive into reviewing minutes. Since time immemorial, the Kalapuya people have been the indigenous stewards of our region, building dynamic communities, maintaining balance with wildlife, and enacting sustainable land practices. A land acknowledgement is a way of resisting the erasure of indigenous histories and to honor native communities by inviting truth and reconciliation. Following treaties between 1851 and 1855, Kalapuya people were dispossessed of their indigenous homeland by the United States government and forcibly removed to the Coast Reservation in Western Oregon. As we consider the impacts of colonization, we also acknowledge the strength and resiliency of displaced indigenous people. The city of Eugene is built within the traditional homelands known as the Kalapuya Lihi. Kalapuya descendants are citizens of the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde Community of Oregon and the Confederated Tribes of Siletz Indians of Oregon. They continue to make contributions in our communities here and across the lands. We express our respect for the inherent political sovereignty of all federally recognized tribal nations and indigenous people who live in the state of Oregon and across the nation. Thank you. So our next item here is a review of the minutes. So this is our agenda for this evening. Does anyone have anything that is missing from this agenda that they would like to add? Okay. I will be adding a brief announcement in our HRC leadership and commissioner updates regarding a note from Commissioner Booker that will require a vote. So if we can make that for the record there, and that's just an announcement, and I'll kind of go through. So that would just be kind of between 3 and 4. Anyone else have any amendments they'd like to propose, or does this look good? Okay. If not opposed, so moved. And we will move through this evening's agenda. Okay. So HRC leadership announcements and commissioner updates. Does anyone have any commissioner updates or announcements that you'd like to share with the HRC or the public more broadly?
Sorry, Chair. Before we move into the following items on the agenda, I believe we need a vote on the minutes from last month.
Oh, thanks. Do we have those pulled up? Sorry. Or they were sent out in email, correct?
Yes.
Okay, great. Did everyone have an opportunity to review those minutes? Okay.
Yes.
Any amendments or anything to those minutes? Did it look good? Okay, all in favor of approving last month's meeting minutes? Say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay, wonderful. Approved. Thank you. Okay, we'll go into our commissioner updates or announcements. Thank you. And just for a reminder for our new commissioners, this can be an announcement about anything that you've attended, human rights issues, things in the community that you would like to share with the commission or public more broadly. Commissioner Lowe, it's your hand.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Cynthia and I were able to attend the bystander upstander training that was offered through the Office of Equity and Community Engagement. And I just want to say I really appreciate the opportunity first of the city for hosting it and also for commissioners to attend. It was really impactful, and I think that it was a really great group of people who both attended and who facilitated the training. So I just want to mention that and say thank you. Cynthia, I don't know if you have anything that you want to add on that piece before I also give an update on our Transgender Day of Remembrance.
Thank you, Commissioner Lowe. It occurs to me that the handout that we were given could possibly be distributed to the entire commission. I wonder if that's possible. Melissa was there as well.
I can certainly ask, this is Melissa, of whether we can share that. Although I think it is really, if you haven't done this training before, we still recommend doing it. And I know our office may still offer it in the future, but I'll follow up on that ASAP, Cynthia, or Commissioner Poindexter, sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. And then at the last meeting, Commissioner Poindexter and I worked after the meeting. We met with Akasha, and Melissa has helped to steward our coordination with having a statement from the Human Rights Commission for Transgender Day of Remembrance. And so we were able to get that finalized. I don't have it with me, Melissa. If you have it, do you mind sharing it with the commissioners so that they know what the statement is and also what the activity will be?
Yes, Commissioner Lowe, I will. I have to share, my power is out at my home, so I'm just using my phone, but I'll put the statement in the chat once I find it.
Thank you, Melissa. And that's all I have. Unless Commissioner Poindexter, you also want to add on our work.
Melissa had mentioned today that we may want to consider having Transgender Day of Remembrance in our work plan, which Commissioner Lowe and I both liked. And I wonder if that's possible. Is it too late to add a day of remembrance?
I'm not sure where the work plan is, if it's gone to council yet, but I did speak with Fabio briefly, and if we can't put it in the work plan this year, we can definitely sponsor it for next year.
Okay, thank you. Very nice.
Sorry, just an addition here. The work plan, we have prepared a final version, which was shared with all commissioners via email this past week. And we are preparing the agenda item summary to be submitted to council as soon as we get a confirmation of that date. The event can be sponsored through the HRC, even if it's not listed in the work plan, because the HRC has actually a mandate to sponsor a minimum number of events every year. So the commission can work on that event, even if it's not specifically listed in the work plan.
Thank you for that clarification. That helps. It lets us know that we have the opportunity again. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you for the work on that, commissioners, and for those updates. It's really exciting. Does anyone else have any announcements, acknowledgements for the group? Martha, I saw you unmuted. Did you have anything? Okay. Anyone else? Okay. So the piece, the brief note on the HRC leadership announcements was for Commissioner Booker. Commissioner Booker wanted me to let y'all know he's having a medical emergency and is looking to apply for a leave of absence from the Human Rights Commission for up to 3 months. So He wanted me to announce that this evening, and then how this has worked in the past is that whenever someone proposes that, we do have to have an approval from the commission for that temporary leave of absence. So staff, if there's anything additional that I need to do to provide that context, I can. But if we are ready for it, we can just move forward with that motion. Is there anything additional that we need to move forward with that process?
No, Chair. All that's required is a vote of the commission approving the leave of absence.
Okay, wonderful. So I'm going to put a motion on the floor to approve Commissioner Booker's temporary leave of absence of up to 3 months contingent upon his medical condition. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay, wonderful. We'll notify Commissioner Booker and then do reach out and just check in. Yeah, thank you for opening that opportunity for him to take care of himself and come back and serve in a really meaningful capacity in the near future. So that concludes everything that I have for commissioner updates. Vice Chair, is there any HRC leadership updates that you have that you'd like to share? Okay. So we can move on to our next agenda item. So next on our agenda this evening are our EPD liaison report. Lieutenant Williams, it's good to see you again. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having me tonight. I only have 2 cases to bring to your attention and then possibly circle back on an earlier topic that we talked about last month. The first one was reported to have taken place on November 1st in the middle of the morning, early morning hours. At least that's when it was reported to have occurred. And this was out in kind of the River Road area. In this case, a Black female reported to police that someone had written a racial slur and a pretty vulgar message both outside on her front porch of her apartment in chalk. Her fiance kind of tried to shield her from it, and the neighbors tried to get it cleaned up, but she came out, she kind of was on to them and figured out that they were up to something, and she came outside and saw it. She was a little surprised. She kind of suspects a neighbor who's kind of been abrasive to lots of people in the apartment complex, but she's always gotten along with that person well. And so she didn't really know what to make of it. Coincidentally, that resident happened to have a video camera, like a Ring cam that potentially could have captured the event. But they assured her and the police that they checked the camera and it did not have any useful footage. There wasn't much else to go on. The case was assigned to a detective, but it's been suspended. This subject, it does sound like there's kind of a history of the subject causing disorderly type calls for service and generally being disorderly and upsetting to neighbors. The victim in this case was referred to the Eugene Office of Equity and Community Engagement. One more piece about that. It sounds as though the neighbor that is sort of the troublemaker in the apartment complex is being evicted or has been evicted at this point. The next case took place only a few days later. This was in an apartment complex up in the Coburg and Crescent area of Eugene. This was a traveling medical professional who was in town for sort of a job rotation. And he said that on October 24th, he heard somebody making anti-Black comments through his door. He got up and went outside, and he didn't see anybody outside his apartment. He left, and sometime later in the afternoon, he came back and noticed that someone had carved some derogatory racial slur stuff above his door. That was pretty directly anti-Black. He didn't report this until the 4th of November. I'm sorry, if I was unclear, police responded on November 4th, but this actually took place on October 24th, and our victim had since moved out and moved on with his next assignment, but wanted to make sure that it got documented with the police department. By the time our officer got out there, pursuant to it being reported, the management had already made repairs to the damage, but the officer did have photographs that were provided by the victim, so that was helpful. There isn't any additional information in that case. We was also provided the information with the Office of Equity and Community Engagement. The last case we had talked about last month that I hadn't gotten a case update from my sergeant on yet, I think involved some bias against an Asian member of our community who was shopping at Valley River Center, went inside the mall with his family and came back out, and the rental car he was using, it was a borrowed car because his car was in the shop for repair, had a dent in the door, and there was another piece of damage. Excuse me. Yeah. Multiple dents and scratches. And then there was also a sticker that was applied to the up to the car that had a anti-Asian slur that was pretty vulgar. And interestingly, he didn't report it right away. This took place, this had taken place on the 19th of October, and police were notified on the 24th of October. That's not the interesting part, but the interesting part is he advised the investigating officer that something similar had happened about a year earlier. He had not reported that incident. So that's a little bit uncommon, the amount of time in between. It's sort of a unique crime. And so we're not exactly sure what to make of it, but that was assigned to a detective. There's nothing much to go on in that case, but it's definitely something we're going to keep an eye on as far as trends go. And certainly not something I've seen before, but we're going to watch it and make sure that it doesn't develop into a pattern of some kind. He did decline even wanting much of a police investigation or prosecution. And he also kind of declined the city Office of Equity information. So those are the three cases I wanted to bring to you, Commission. Does anybody have any questions for me? I had to just double check that my mic was on. I wasn't just talking and you guys weren't just seeing my mouth move.
Nope, we heard you loud and clear. Yeah, I appreciate the report. Any questions on those trends, those cases? Okay. I think my question, which I'm not sure if this is directed for you, Lieutenant Williams, or kind of in conjunction with the Office of Equity and Community Engagement staff present, but looking at current, some of the recent events in our current political state and community, there's been some questions around if there are any predictions for a rise in hate and bias incidents, and or anything that's been reported from the community, and probably not relative to these two incidents, but maybe city staff, if there's anything you can share surrounding that, if anything came up over the past month associated with the election. I know that's been a really intense time for a lot of folks. Melissa, I see your hand.
Hi, Commissioners. I attended the Communities United Against Hate meeting earlier this month, and the DOJ was attending and reported back that there didn't seem to be a spike of reports or incidents after the election, but that they are staying vigilant to see what else is happening, from here on out. So I just wanted to share that information.
Yeah, and from the police department standpoint, we've certainly been kind of watching very cautiously about what the fallout from the election process might be. We had a command center set up, and fortunately, we didn't have a lot of trouble, or very little actually. But from a investigations position, which is the one I hold, and from the Human Rights Commission liaison perspective, it's certainly, you know, a change or a trend developing in this area with bias crimes is something we would be looking for, and I would certainly report on to you.
And I can also report that we did not see an increase in the number of cases or attempted reports made to our office. The number of cases we have received has been mostly through our own buildings and facilities, mostly the library. And there is no difference in comparison to the months prior to the election. So hopefully this is reflective of what is actually happening in the community.
Hey, thank you for that information. It's really valuable information, and happy we were able to make it through our election season without a spike or anything escalated. So appreciate it. Anyone have any questions for Office of Equity and Community Engagement, Lieutenant Williams? Any additional? Okay, all. Thank you. Thank you, Lieutenant Williams. Always appreciate your reports and your level of detail.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Okay. So next on our agenda is our hate and bias report. Fabio, is there any additional updates you'd like to provide?
In terms of new reports, no, nothing out of usual. The only reports we received were hate speech left at the library, but they were not directed at a specific person. So we document those, but they are non-criminal, and they are mostly related to unhoused individuals using the library facility. Last month, I did share a partial report for this year, and we compare to 2023. It seems that the data is pointing towards a significant decrease in the number of reported cases. Just a reminder, if you had some time to check the data, the new reporting system is not actually based on number of cases, but based on the number of people who report something. So last month, I made some notes. For example, 160 reports were related to the same incident in which we had anti-Semitic flyers being distributed in town. And we had over 40 reports from a same housing unit at the same week. So they were all related to a singular incident, but multiple people reporting that, and it may have inflated the numbers for 2023. And if you have any questions about the data sets I shared or the summary I presented last month, I will be happy to talk about those.
Thank you, Fabio. Anyone have any additional questions, comment for Office of Community Engagement staff? Okay, thanks for that context. All right, our next agenda item is our council report. Councilor Leach, it's great to see you. Welcome.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for having me as always. Yeah, I think there's definitely some things coming up on our council agenda that you might want to note. Next week, we have our third work session on mental health and in our community. And this one is a mental health and substance abuse services and programs. It's part 2. The first part, if you haven't been able to watch it, was a really in-depth discussion and analysis of all of the different systems that are working together in our community, and sometimes what feel like disparately in our community to impact our mental health. And that presentation was given by our Assistant City Manager, Christy Hammett, and Ethan Nelson, our Intergovernmental Relations person. And So that was incredibly interesting. This next session is going to be a panel discussion. And so pretty much the entirety of our work session on next Wednesday is going to be, or on, sorry, Monday, will be a panel discussion. And this will be an opportunity for enforcement, our fire and emergency services, and other people who are working for the city, who are encountering, you know, and utilizing behavioral health. And so I wanted to kind of bring this up. If you had any questions that you would like me to ask of the panel, I would be happy to ask those questions on behalf of the HRC. So and I can give you a little pause or come back to that to give you time to formulate as I move on, or if anyone has anything at the moment.
Thank you, Councilor Leach. Folks, does anyone have any questions?
And you're welcome to also send those to me directly if you have questions, and I can kind of synthesize them and package them up and then be able to have those. Of course, we get very limited time sometimes during these, but it sounded like we're going to be able to have a really nice kind of hour and a half lengthy discussion with plenty of opportunity for questions. So please do send me those, or you can send them to Blake and he can kind of put them together to me, however you'd like to do that. And of course, we're coming up into budget season. At the City of Eugene, we have we've moved into a biennial budget system, which means we prepare a 2-year budget. And so we'll be doing that coming up into the fall and into the next months and throughout the beginning of the year. And so I think just inviting you to understand the budgeting process, how that relates to our priorities, what, you know, we're looking right now at a potential fire service fee. We had a public hearing last night about a fee that would be impactful for everyone in our city who, you know, pays a e-web bill essentially. The average amount of that, which is projected, is somewhere between $8 and $13 per month per e-web customer. So that'd be per home essentially, or unit. So that, of course, there's, you know, equity in that. We have tried to create that as equitable as possible, enabling anyone who qualifies for assistance on their utility bill to also qualify for this fee to be waived as well. And a fairly simple structure based on square footage of a home. So we had the public hearing. We will be deliberating that. Whether that passes or does not pass will have an impact on our budget. And because we have kind of this gap in how much it costs to provide the services that we're providing and how much revenue that we have. So there's this gap. And so if that does not pass, then we will be looking at the budget and really having to pare that down and reduce our budget overall. We've been doing reductions pretty much every year for many, many years because kind of the way our tax base is structured. But through that process, I think there's going to be plenty of opportunity to be involved in terms of what are our priorities? What would we really be losing? Where would the you know, what in your eyes, what would that look like? And that's what we'll all be doing across the community if this, you know, fee doesn't pass. So not trying to, you know, just trying to give you kind of information on how you might be able to be involved in something that would be very impactful to a lot of people across our city and a lot of our services and what we're trying to do. And so I think those are my two kind of big buckets. Happy to talk more about those with you all, and I'm happy to also answer questions at this time as well. Yes, Blake.
Hey, so I guess I have two, one comment, one request. The piece on preparing some inquiries for the mental health sessions. If folks do have questions or pieces that you'd like shared with Councilor Leach, I think it's totally appropriate to send it along. And if the commission would like Thomas and I or myself to do some of that filtering so we can kind of synopsize and create a really condensed list of questions for Councilor Leach, I'm happy to do that. But we'll just want to make sure that the commission's comfortable with me being that person before saying yes to that. And then my second piece, I think on the budgeting component, I'd be really interested in us kind of exploring materials that you think would be relevant to us and kind of shedding a lens on where our human rights priorities might intersect with some of the different budgetary allocations. And so if you think there are any materials that would benefit us to review, think about how it aligns with our work plan, and some of those goals, I would love those to be sent along. And I think there's a potential for the HRC to examine that, like have a couple folks that might be interested in that to examine. So that's kind of my thoughts on it. So if there's anything you can send our way to get that ball rolling, and then maybe we can talk about, put a timeline on reviewing and discussing that with you, Councilor Leach.
Great.
Vice Chair put a comment in the group chat. Oh, just a note of gratitude. Thank you, Blake, Lindsay, and everyone. You're all a joy to work with. Oh, wonderful. You too, Thomas.
Wonderful. As always, feel free to contact me or email me for questions. And I look forward to hearing from you all and looking at our work plan. Of course, by the end of the year, we will also have brought our work plan to council to approve. So I'm looking forward to that presentation as well, and all of the amazing work that you all do and our committees will be doing over the next year. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Leach. Appreciate your council report. It's always great to have you. Okay, y'all. Well, if we don't have any more questions or updates, we'll go into our next item, which is discussion and vote. We have a request of support. And is our requesting party here present?
She is, because it's going to be me presenting.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, Melissa.
Yes. Hi,
Pleasure.
everyone, again. Is this a good time to start?
Yes, welcome to do so. And it looks like we have about 10 minutes budgeted for the discussion and vote.
Some of the commissioners may remember Talisha Brown from the Black Cultural Institute or Initiatives, who came for requesting for funds in the time for the commemorative event for the Cross the Bridge community that happened in September, yes. And she is actually connected with our cultural services staff and myself more recently because the Black Cultural Initiative wants to host a Kwanzaa event on December 29th at the Farmers Market Pavilion. Her request, it might differ from what you might see in writing, but the request is basically for the Human Rights Commission to support this event. The cost is $339 to rent the Farmers Market Pavilion, and then staff is required to be at the event. So I have already booked that event on my calendar.
Hi,
I
everyone.
think we lost audio.
Yes, Melissa is without electricity. She is joining just using her phone. So I believe.
And I'm back.
Okay, good.
That was strange. I don't know where I left off, but that is for $339 to cover the rental expense of the Farmers Market Pavilion and staffing. And I have already reserved that time. So if the Human Rights Commission decides to support this event, I will be the staff person. I do know that Talisha spoke with Commissioner Booker, who is in support, but obviously he's not here to vote. I think that's pretty much it. Let me know if you have any questions. Commissioner Poindexter, and then Commissioner Burrell. Chair Burrell, sorry.
Thank you. I couldn't hear clearly the amount of money that is being requested from us. Could you just say that figure one more time?
Most definitely. It's $339. Thank you. Any Chair Burrell?
Yeah. So the request for $339, the itemized expenditures would be the cost of renting the pavilion. But then I heard the note on staff time. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes.
Okay. The staff time allocation, is that something that's additional to how are we requesting that? And is that something we typically do for Office of Equity Community Engagement staff?
That one is not decided through the HRC. Melissa was just listing that for us to use the market pavilion, we need the staff to be present at the event. And because of her role as a multicultural liaison, Melissa is already committed to participating in the event.
Okay, so the $339 is for the pavilion rental?
That is correct. Yes.
Okay. And then we'll be allocating a percentage of that towards the FTE expenditure for the time that you'll be present at the event.
I don't believe so. Based on what Fabio said, that's completely separate. It's just
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Sure thing.
Does anyone else have any questions regarding this event? Melissa, were there any notes on what participation from the Human Rights Commission they would like to have?
Would love to invite commissioners to attend the event, but no specific asks.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any further questions? Okay. Does anyone have a motion for approval or amendment?
I make a motion to approve the $339 for the event.
Second.
Okay. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay, so moved. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then Melissa, if you can send out event information, posters and flyers so that we all have that and we can share it within our networks, that'd be really beneficial for us.
Most definitely, will do.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, y'all. Our next item on the agenda is our Homeless Persons Memorial Day event. It's a discussion and vote. And this is a planning discussion and a request for support for this event. So I can lead this discussion, and then for folks who plan to be involved in the event, Commissioner Lowe, Commissioner Poindexter, and Commissioner Bradley, you haven't been informed of everything yet, but want to make sure that you know what you're getting yourself into in the Homelessness and Poverty Work Group. So we have a really wonderful event planned every year. We've done an annual event for Homeless Persons Memorial Day. So on the longest day of the year, December 21st, the HRC has been either primary hosts or partnered with members of our community to host a candlelight vigil and memorial event at the park blocks or locations identified in the city of Eugene. So this is one of our primary points of community outreach with folks in the unhoused community and the public surrounding the issue of mortality and folks who are passing away as a result of or in relationship to their experience of homelessness in the city of Eugene. So the Homelessness and Poverty Work Group last year put together an event that was 2 hours and was open to the public in the downtown park blocks. The first hour was a open tabling and outreach event that hosted a variety of resources, community organizations, refreshments, and food and music. The second hour was a memorial service and vigil, which included a choral performance from the Eugene Raging Grannies and guest speakers from the Human Rights Commission, Mayor Venus, Egan Warming Centers, and Lynn County's League chair spoke. So this year, the Human Rights Commission's Homelessness and Poverty Work Group is exploring a similar event proposal and has been connected with members of multiple organizations involved in homeless advocacy groups throughout the community, sheltering organizations and providers to collaborate on a large community event on that date. And there's been a couple organizations that would be interested in being involved in that. And yeah, that's where we're looking for our support and to execute on this work plan item. I put in a request for us to reserve $750 to go through our permitting process, purchase food and other supplies that might be associated with the event. Last year, we requested about $500. I think we ended up spending about $555 after we factored in permits. And we were able to feed folks. This year, we haven't selected our vendor, and we're looking to likely explore alternate locations. Last year, we did East Block of the downtown blocks. We're discussing the Farmers Market Pavilion as potentially being a more accessible environment. But we need to connect with Saturday Market folks since we will be intersecting with the end of the market time. And the work group discussed potential other locations, but hadn't sent through any other ideas. So we're trying to prioritize the Farmers Market Pavilion, and Melissa's put some energy into seeing what that would look like. And yeah, we would have a very similar structure. And the approval for tonight would be that we want to move forward with that event on that date. We're comfortable with the locations proposed, and we could utilize some of our funds to ensure that we have enough resources to do that event. So Commissioner Poindexter, Commissioner Lowe, if there's anything that you'd like to add to it or your experience with the event last year, and I think Vice Chair Hira, you're on here and you spoke at the event last year. So if anyone would like to share about your experience, yeah, the floor is yours. Commissioner Lowe?
I'll share. I have been involved with this event for the last 2 years, and every year it's really impactful. And I think that it is a way for us to connect both as the commission and with the work group members, with members of the public, and really come together to honor lives that have been lost throughout the year. And there is a lot of effort year round really put into this event. And so I really encourage commissioners to also come out and attend and see what the event is about and just join us. Every single year I'm just blown away by what we're able to succeed in putting the event together.
Commissioner Poindexter, I saw you.
I would echo the comments by Commissioner Lowe concerning how important and how moving that event was. Last year was the first year that I had attended, and I was staffing our human rights table, and repeatedly unhoused people would come to the table to make sure it was okay for them to take food and clothing. They could hardly believe that was available to them. And the fact that the mayor reads the names it was just incredible. So I think that we should do everything we can, if we have the money, of course, to make it an annual event.
Thank you too for sharing. Vice Chair, I don't know if there's anything that you'd like to share about some of the efforts of our work group. Not sure if you're able to unmute. Okay.
I have nothing to share at this time, but I appreciate that invitation.
Thanks, Vice Chair. I guess our next step in this would be to put forth a request for us to be able to access up to $750 and do this event. Our homelessness and poverty work group will be our primary planning folks and folks who are involved in that. We'll be partnering with multiple outreach organizations to pull it off. So can I get a motion on the floor for approving that expenditure?
Chair,
Mhm.
may I just add some information before the commission votes on this?
Sure.
So in addition to the cost of the event, which is usually approved in your budget, this event also receives support from our office, and it happens right before the holidays. So we need to make sure that we have staff available to support with the infrastructure that will be needed. So the sooner the commission can let us know what is it that is needed for the kind of event you are offering this year, the better for us to be able to provide the material support and the staff time that will be needed to help you with the event.
Wonderful. Well, we will, once we get it approved, Dre and I put together a really good template for it last year. So we've got all that prepped and it won't be hard to conduct. So looking forward to sharing that information with you, Fabio. So can I get a motion on the floor for approval for this event?
This is John, so moved.
Wonderful. A second?
A second.
2 seconds. Wonderful. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay, wonderful. So we'll keep you all posted on materials and we'll get all that information over to the Office of Equity Community Engagement staff. I can reach out to both you, Fabio and Melissa. We'll get a good plan in place. And if we've onboarded the any new staff members, I'd love to get them involved so they have a good framework for it leading up to next year, just so everyone kind of has an idea of how we do it. Really look forward to hosting it, so I appreciate you all moving forward with this. Okay, so Our next topic of discussion is International Human Rights Day, and it's a discussion and vote. So I'm happy to speak to a little bit of what we did last year, but Fabio, this landed on the agenda from you, so I wanted maybe you to lead this conversation, and then we can talk about what we did last year and see what your office might have in mind.
Yes, thanks, Chair. So the International Human Rights Day has been a celebration that the HRC has honored for many years. Since I joined the organization, the past 5 years, we have had an event happening, and we did so even during COVID. We have offered that event in many different formats. Last year, we had a panel conversation with Q&A. In the previous 2 years before that, we had video, like documentaries and movies that were available for the community to watch. In one of them, we had over 200 people watching the movies and some people joining for the Q&A. And the commission tries to connect the topic for the event with their work plan or with the theme that the United Nations chooses every year for this celebration. I will share what we have at the UN website right now so you can see the theme they are offering. And we also believe that is a theme that is very related to some of the concerns the Commission has expressed regarding which change we may expect or see as we get to a new administration at the start of 2025. And we add that item to the agenda so the Commission can discuss the interest in supporting and organizing an event to honor International Human Rights Day. It is a constant feature in the Commission's calendar. We do not hold a December meeting, and instead we usually hold an International Human Rights Day celebration to replace the December meeting.
Wonderful. Thanks, Fabio. So last year, the Human Rights Commission, we had a panel at the Baskin Tyson Room. The year previous, we did a film, and we've had a really positive point of engagement by utilizing the Eugene Public Library. The events, I believe last year it was December 10th. I think it's on the same day every year, so it's December 10th. So the panel discussion centered around the global theme, and that was really nice because there's a lot of resources produced, a lot of reference materials, things we could share with the public. It was a really positive point of engagement. We had folks from multiple identity groups come and speak last year, and it was centered around racial equity and justice for all. It was a really positive event. We invited the mayor to read a proclamation, which is a common feature of this event. So that International Human Rights Day proclamation is kind of a key component. And yeah, it was really positive. There was quite a bit of support from our staff liaison last year, which I think was what made the planning of that event really possible. So I think one of my questions, Fabio and Melissa, is what is y'all's capacity to support hosting that event? And that might inform what we explore as a group to celebrate that day.
We would offer the same level of support that the Commission has received, at least since I joined the organization 6 years ago. Staff has been available to support this event every year.
Okay, so I think leading up to it, I guess it's more so just the logistical notes. So it'll take a couple planning meetings and some communications outward. Do you think doing something at the library, kind of the similar way that we did last year, would be doable and something we could do within a couple weeks?
Yes, and that planning can be delegated to an ad hoc committee. If the commission wishes to proceed with the event, you could select a small number of commissioners who would like to join staff in organizing the event.
Okay, great. Yeah, I think that the ad hoc committee structure worked really well last year. So if we are interested in hosting an event for that day, what I might recommend is that we as a commission don't dive into the nitty gritty of the planning components, like what the event will feature, but just approve that we want to do this event and probably some budgetary items associated with it. Do you remember our allocation for food last year? I think we were around $200. Do you or Melissa have that information easily available?
Yes, the event that costs under $300.
Okay. So maybe we want to do to request an expenditure up to $250 and then appoint an ad hoc committee to connect with city staff around planning. And then if we get that approval to reach out to the mayor's office to invite the mayor on the 10th, and we'll make sure we put something together that's really meaningful for the community. How does that feel to you all? Okay, saw a thumbs up. Thanks, Martha. Anyone have any other ideas? Anything that you want to bring into this conversation? Okay. Does anyone have any interest in helping with the planning or execution of the event? It'll be on December 10th.
I could commit to be like helping the day of. I'm not sure I can commit to helping plan it.
Okay, great. So why don't we do just hear folks that would be interested in planning, just raise your hand. And it's not a full commitment, just interest. And if something comes up, oh, look at that. Some hands went up. I like that. Okay. So we'll make a note of that. All right. And then anyone who may be interested in attending, or maybe folks that know, hey, I cannot attend on the 10th. I'm going to be out of town. I'm not going to be there. Takes a little bit to pull it off, but this will give us an idea of who might be there.
Hey, man.
I should be able to attend, Blake.
Okay. So Martha and Jackie. Okay, that's great. Oh, another. Great. Thank you. So we'll make a note of that. So I think the motion on the floor for this is that we do want to move forward with partnering with Office of Equity Community Engagement. To do this, we'd like to allocate at least $250 worth of budget for what we so choose. And we'll select from the group of folks that raise their hand to create an ad hoc committee and put some planning on the table. So that's my motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay, wonderful. Thank you. So Fabio and Melissa, let's just shoot an email after this meeting. We'll get a good planning session going. Thanks for getting this on the agenda this evening. Okay, so our next agenda item is HRC liaison assignments and updates. And this is listed as a discussion and vote. Fabio and Melissa, do we have a list of current liaison assignments that folks are in that we could reference for this conversation? Or has anyone reached out to you expressing interest in liaison assignments?
We do have a list, and I'm going to share it in a minute on screen. I did not receive any indication from current members if they want to serve like as a liaison to a board or commission.
Okay, great. Thank you. Melissa, did anyone reach out to you?
No, no one has reached out as well. I just
Okay.
know about Booker and the Police Commission Civilian Review Board, but he's taking a leave. So not sure where that goes.
Yes, and Chair, with that approved leave, we will have to check with our council support staff regarding the police liaison position,
Okay.
which is currently occupied by Commissioner Booker. So with him not serving on the HRC for 3 months, we have to check with them what happened with that position as well.
Okay. Thank you. So we have Commissioner Booker in those 2 assignments. We'll figure out a plan for that leave period for both of those. There's probably support from Jensina or Holly or Beatrice, folks that can reach out to us with that information. So we'll put in a good plan. Our assignments, there's a couple that can roll over from last year. And then Cynthia has expressed interest in the multicultural liaison assignment as the primary. So we can go ahead, and what I'd say is let's fill this liaison assignment sheet up, and then let's just approve the whole sheet at this meeting. So we don't need to vote on individual approval. We can just write everyone's name in that feels like they want to fill this role. And if there's any left vacant, we can revisit it at a later time. So let's start our civilian review board. We have a vacant backup commissioner. So that is a way that we could get CRB filled. If there's anyone that's interested in being our CRB liaison for the next 3 months, you would be the primary liaison for that. And this is someone who monitors the CRB's meetings and attends as a panelist, and then just provides a report. Anyone have interest in that?
Chair, this is John Bradley. I have a question for you. Is the CRB linked with the police commission, or is it just by happenstance that Commissioner Booker has been covering both?
It is not linked. He just covers both. Yeah. They might sometimes review similar subject matter, but they're 2 separate assignments.
Okay. I'm willing to be backup for the police commission. And if it helps, I'm happy to be backup for the CRB as well.
Okay.
So, sorry, Commissioner Bradley, just a clarification. For the police commission, we do not have a backup. That one is a direct appointment by mayor.
Oh, okay. I see.
So we have a backup one for the CRB.
Yep. So for that, when Fabio gets the clarification, we'll see if we can have someone stand in as a primary for Commissioner Booker. So John, we'll make a note of that, and then if it becomes an option, we'll do that. We'll just have to talk to the HRC and make sure it's approved.
I'm happy to cover for Commissioner Booker and the CRB if that helps.
Wonderful. Thank you, Commissioner Bradley.
Chair?
Yes.
I'll need to leave the meeting for some minutes, so I won't be able to update on the go, but you can discuss, and it's being recorded. We can update this and share later. Thank you. Okay,
great. That's okay. So our community block development grant, does anyone have interest in being a primary or a secondary liaison for CBDG?
Is that just for those like 3 meetings in the early spring?
It would just be monitoring any CBDG activity and attending those meetings. Yeah. And everything except the police commission is a monitoring, attending as a panelist and reporting back. So it's not something that you have to show up and participate in.
I would be willing to do that. I'm a little familiar with CDBG, so.
Great. Wonderful. Does anyone have expressed interest in being a secondary liaison? Case. Okay. Lindsay, thanks for being our council liaison. Housing Policy Board, Jackie, I see your hand.
I would like to be Housing Policy Board backup, please.
Great. Okay. And we'll see the status and how they've been organizing. Wonderful. Thanks, Jackie. Okay. Does anyone else have interest in Housing Policy Board? I've been in that assignment, I think, for 2 years. I'm open if there's anyone else that has interest. Okay. Keep my name there. Okay.
I'm happy to volunteer if that's helpful. This is John.
Okay. Great. Jackie, would you be interested in being a primary and having John as a secondary?
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Okay. So we'll make that adjustment. Thank you. Moving ahead, transportation panel. Both of those are vacant. And I'm not sure their meeting structure, how frequently they meet.
Do you mind explaining a little bit about the transportation group? I am potentially interested since it does kind of tie into healthcare as well.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if there is, Melissa, you might be able to help me with this too. Is there a description section for this, for any of these liaison assignments that might help commissioners in reviewing?
Chair Burrell, I am not familiar if there are details.
Okay.
I wonder if perhaps other staff who's online might know about the Moving Ahead Transportation Panel. This is actually the first time I've ever heard about it. So I could speak to maybe the other ones, but not that one. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not sure how this group organizes, but I know it's been examining the Moving Ahead project, as I know it, has been City of Eugene, LTD, and a couple other folks in the region thinking about where they're investing resources associated with transportation. And so it's really around the our overall transportation system. I know that there's conversations of accessibility, things that are related to human rights that have come up.
I'd be interested as long as the frequency of the meeting is not more than once a month.
Yeah. Okay. And I think most of these are less than a month. So we'll write your name down, and then if there's anything that comes up or you feel that to be inaccessible, just let us know. But yeah, this has been a pretty great project that I've monitored through the years. So be good to get insight on it. The multicultural needs assessment, Commissioner Poindexter had expressed interest and emailed Melissa. Commissioner Kabuko, I saw that you're also interested in that. So we can go there. Does anyone else have interest in that?
This is Alaire. I would, but I can do that at a later time since it looks like it's filled.
Okay. We'll make a note of that. And I think that this, so that everyone knows too, looking at the multicultural needs assessment is a really big part of the WeCU work group and a lot of the work that Melissa does. So there's a lot of opportunity for the HRC to engage in conversations surrounding this.
I don't know if it makes a difference too. I think I am chair of the WeCU, I think, or at least I was on it last year, and that was the assumption.
Yep.
That is my understanding as well.
Okay, so I don't know if being the commissioner or like a backup commissioner to the needs assessment is similar, or if they're two separate kind of job duties.
Yeah, being a liaison in this space has predominantly manifested in kind of understanding the multicultural needs assessment process and different work that's going on with it. There's a really large intersection. The though I think that they overlap quite a bit. WeCU is, more broadly associated with our work plan. This is certainly a component of it. So if you are interested in being in that liaison assignment, you're welcome to do so, even being a co-lead of that group. So it's just up to you.
That works for me.
Okay. So Lara, we'll make sure that you're involved in those projects so you can be heavily involved in the multicultural needs pieces. And Melissa is going to be a really good point of contact for expanding any knowledge in that space that you might be interested in. POCO, we've got Commissioner Booker and John will list you as a potential secondary. The Sustainability Commission, does anyone have any interest being liaison for Sustainability Commission? Okay, I'll jump in and be our liaison for the Sustainability Commission. Monitor what they're doing. I'll hold that space. So anyone that might be interested in being a backup? Okay, if anyone expresses interest, just shoot an email. Triple bottom line, I've been our primary commissioner for a while, and Vice Chair here, I believe, has been that. Anyone else have any interest in being a triple bottom line liaison? Okay. So Thomas and I can retain that. Vision Zero Task Force, Thomas, you're the primary commissioner here. Are you still interested in being that lead commissioner?
Can you repeat that?
The Vision Zero Task Force. Are you interested in being our primary liaison?
Yeah, I like doing that. I appreciate it.
Great. Does anyone want to be a secondary liaison?
Could you just define what Vision Zero means real quickly?
Yeah. Thomas, do you want to speak about it?
Yeah, so Vision Zero is effectively about traffic safety and trying to ensure that our streets, we reach towards having no collisions, deaths, accidents, fatalities.
Great. Thanks, Commissioner Hira. I posted the link to the webpage in the chat, so you have it, Commissioner.
Oh,
Index.
thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. So if anyone expresses interest in that, we'll leave it vacant for now. And then the Youth Advisory Council. Does anyone have any interest in being a primary liaison for Youth Advisory Council?
I have interest in that. This is Alaire. Can you explain what that entails?
Yeah. I'm not sure if they invite a little bit more participation, but YAC has been a really influential group for talking about issues impacting youth in the city of Eugene. They do attend events often, and it's not uncommon for us to have liaisons from YAC involved in events and inquiring with the Human Rights Commission. But they're really, really active. A lot of young leaders who are heavily engaged in the city of Eugene. So I think it's really worthwhile opportunity if you're interested.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested. Thank you.
Wonderful. Okay, well, let's choose the primary. Is anyone interested in being a secondary for Youth Advisory Council? Okay. You can put me in as a secondary for Youth Advisory Council. And then any time that folks need backup, I'll be there. Fabio, is there any way you can scroll down for us on this page? I think that's the end, right? Okay, good. Just wanted to double check.
Wait,
Okay,
can I ask
great.
a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, like, will each of us be sent where to stay informed on each of these, or like how do we actively stay informed on each of these groups?
That's a wonderful question.
Yes.
Fabio, do you have something to input, and then I can provide?
Yeah, so we will connect you with the staff liaison for each one of those committees, so they can share information with you, and we can also share the calendar of meetings for them.
Great, thank you. And
Yeah.
I would be happy to be the backup for Vision Zero.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay. So looking at this, and I think to Martha, to your question, and so everyone's aware, really our goal as the HRC is to be monitoring the activities of different boards and commissions and groups. Some of them activate at different frequencies. Some of them meet on a routine basis. So really the goal is for us to be monitoring what's going on in different boards and commissions, finding points of alignment, places where we might want to make the Human Rights Commission informed on what's going on in the community. It also is a great way for us to glean information and connect with folks who are involved in other boards and commissions. So everything except for Police Commission is monitoring from a capacity as not being a voting member, and you're not a panelist in all those capacities. But it is not uncommon to for us to reach out and have inquiry for different groups, for groups to invite us to speak from a human rights perspective, or for us to share information that they've provided at a Human Rights Commission meeting. So if you have activity or things that you'd like to share regarding liaison assignments, I've been trying to establish this as a working, like a standing item at each of our meetings. So we'll hold that space for that. And we can do those updates. Sometimes they make the most sense in our commissioner updates, and then sometimes it makes the most sense in actually having a item for liaison assignment updates. So we can figure out what makes the most sense as we structure our meetings. So when we commit to these assignments, we'll commit to keeping track of what's going on and liaisoning effectively. And if anyone has any questions, just touch base. So our point here, so we've gone through all of the different assignments. What I'd like to do is just put a motion on the floor to approve all of the assignments as is, with the understanding that if someone committed to something or has a change in their commitment, that we can amend that at a later date. And then we'll assume those responsibilities immediately.
So moved.
Okay, we got a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Any abstain? Okay, wonderful, y'all. Thank you for signing up for liaison assignments, and let's get out there and communicate with other public servants and folks who are involved in our community. I appreciate you. Okay, so our next agenda item is a discussion, and it says discussion and vote, but I don't know if it will entail a vote this evening. But is WeSeeU work group planning. And so in our draft work plan, we have put together items, and we've agreed on items that the WeSeeU work group will be working on. And there's a little bit of planning in when we would want those meetings to happen, at what frequency, and what work plan items are most compelling to folks that signed up to be involved in that working group. So I just wanted to hold space this evening for folks who have been involved with WeSeeU and that are going to be on that leadership team to discuss what your thoughts and ideas are surrounding WeSeeU, what work plan items stand out the most. And yeah, so let's just take some time to do that. Anyone interested in opening up?
Chair Burrell, I think The only person who has been on WeCU is actually an attendance, not a panelist. Stephen is on. I think there's, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't believe any of the other commissioners have gone to a WeCU meeting yet, even though I know several of you expressed interest in joining it.
Yeah.
The only WeCU meetings that I know of were the ones before summer, I believe, and we've been on pause with them since we didn't have very many members and we wanted to get to regroup and have more direction of what we need to do.
Yeah. And Commissioner Booker has been involved with a couple of projects surrounding that. So the co-leads that I believe we've identified that would like to work on WeCU, and if I miss anyone, let me know, but I've got Commissioner Kabuko, Commissioner Baldwin, Commissioner Poindexter, and then it was Commissioner Booker. So if anyone else is interested in being involved with WeCU, we can get you written down there. So tonight does not mean we don't necessarily have to have been to WeCU work group meetings to talk about our work plan items or things that we might be most interested in. Commissioner Varda, I see your hand.
Yeah, I would just, can you explain what the WeCU is? I wasn't checking my new commissioner email, so I think I've missed some information up until now.
Yeah, happy to do so. Let me pull up. We actually just wrote a new charter description for that work group. So see if I can share screen on this. Oh, you're quick. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. So identify and recommend strategies to enhance inclusion of marginalized communities into City of Eugene, including cities, partnerships with other jurisdictions, educational institutions, healthcare networks, business community, and neighborhood associations, and to help deter or respond to hate and bias discrimination, including but not limited to systemic and individual racism, heterosexism, transphobia, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, and ableism. So yeah, there you go. I see a couple hands. I'm not sure who raised first. Commissioner Kabuko, do you want to kick us off?
Sure. One thing I talked with Melissa about previously, and I think I've mentioned it at a meeting or two, I would like this group to kind of be like the kickoff point for an event where we have all of the groups that have either put in requests or that we've connected with in the past, like just an evening or some kind of get together for everyone to actually connect and talk with each other, because we have a lot of one-off situations where, you know, they'll do a request for support, or we have one type of connection with them, but we don't have anything else other than that or after that. And so I want to be able to have or kind of create an ongoing in-person, face-to-face conversation with all of these groups. And I think having the HRC put on some sort of event would be ideal for that.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful. Does anyone have any ideas, thoughts on that? Okay. Commissioner Baldwin, I'll say you're unmuted.
I was just going to say, it sounds like a great idea.
Wonderful. Okay. So Commissioner Kabuko, what do you need in support from folks who have identified themselves as co-leads or express interest in WeCU to get that that going?
Yeah, I think maybe Melissa and I can plan the next WeCU meeting and have that on the schedule, and have everyone who's interested attend, and we can start coming up with ideas of how to get that started. Maybe we will have a request next meeting for support, or I don't know if that would fall within what the city supports or however that works as far as like financing would go. But an event would be, or sorry, a request for support for like a venue initially would be good, and then it could always be like a no host event or something easy, but something where we can invite all of the groups we're connected with.
Okay, wonderful. Well, that sounds exciting to me. And I think we can prime those wheels, inviting folks hopefully to our December 10th event and our December 21st event, and then really try to getting folks who've been engaged with the HRC and received requests of support, had us, participate in events. I think that's a really great way to engage all of those organizations and groups in a meaningful way, and maybe promote a stronger sense of membership and understanding of the work group. So I think that's a really great idea. Commissioner Poindexter?
I just wanted to make sure, Chair, that you saw the comment in Q&A and in chat.
No, you can read it to me.
Okay. Stephen in Q&A is asking to be informed of WeCU meetings and to receive those agendas. And in the chat, Alaire has joined WeCU.
Wonderful. Okay, thanks for flagging that, Cynthia. Wonderful. Okay, well, that's exciting. So Commissioner Cabuco, if you and Melissa would like to connect, if there's anyone else that would like to be involved in those conversations or planning, you can connect with those two. And then, let's really kick off WeCU and see if we can set up some strategic goals for increasing engagement and working on work plan items. I'd love for us to have a good list of what work plan items are a priority for us at the beginning of the year, and to hopefully see some increased engagement. So, and Stephen, it won't just be you and Scott anymore. It'll be wonderful. Commissioner Cabuco is going to take us all the way. So I appreciate it. Wonderful. Okay. So keep us posted. Is there anything else on WeCU before we move into our next agenda item? Okay. Thank you all. That's great. I'm glad we had some time to discuss that. I'm really excited. So our next item is street naming report and council updates. So this is something that Office of Equity and Community Engagement notified us of at our previous commission meetings. This is a project that the Human Rights Commission has been engaged in, and it is going to be discussed at upcoming council meetings, and is planning on being on the agenda. So any updates from Office of Equity and Community Engagement that you can provide, and any ways for us to be engaged in that process to be prepared for those council sessions?
Yes, I have a very brief update, Chair. The staff who is working on that presentation to council recently asked me about the work plan items that HRC has in its proposal that relates to that work. So I shared that information with him. It's Jason Dedrick, the person who is working on an update on the naming policy and the sites of memory work. So I do not have a final version of that report yet, or a confirmation on when that presentation will happen. But we will keep the commission informed as soon as we receive more information on that.
Wonderful, thanks. I was going to ask Fabio, is there any materials that you all could send out to the commission more broadly that will get folks involved in kind of understanding that project and some of the historic context, especially for some of our new commissioners?
Yes, we can share the resolution that was proposed by the HRC and approved by council. We can share some of the research work that was done through the OECU and Stephen, who is attending today. And any update I received from the staff work on that work session, I can share with you as well.
Wonderful. Thank you. So does anyone have any questions on that project? Stephen, it was great to see you as an attendee. Anyone have any questions on that? Insights, observations? Okay. Counselor Leach, if there's anything that you want to share with us or ways that you want the HRC to be prepared or meaningfully engage in that conversation, you can kind of let us know maybe in our council updates in January, and that'll give us some time to review those materials and some guidance on what council might be looking for us to get some continuation of what we've done in the past.
Great, thank you so much. I will definitely prepare that for January.
Thanks, Councilor Leach. Okay. Anything else on this agenda item for folks? Okay, I highly encourage everyone read through those materials. There's a lot of really valuable information and a lot of historic context on our community. So our next item is Office of Equity Community Engagement updates. So Fabio and Melissa, the floor is yours.
Thanks. I will start and Melissa can complement with information on her own work. Perhaps the most important update for the Commission is regarding the hiring for the human rights analyst, which is the person who supports the Commission more directly. About a third of the time of that staff is dedicated to the Commission work. We had in-person interviews last Friday with a group of finalists. We had Commissioner Booker representing the HRC in that process. A very diverse group of applicants, each candidate very different from the rest of the group, and super interesting conversations to see the skills, the experience, and the interest that they all were sharing with us. We are right now doing a reference check and background check on our top candidates, and we hope to be able to extend an offer by next week. So it is possible that we'll have someone join the team ahead of the upcoming events. But these things can be slow and we have to negotiate start time and so on. So I don't want to make promises, but we're trying to move as fast as possible with that process, but also making sure that we are hiring the right person. So the background check and the reference check may take more than a week. We did share a message with the Commission. It was late today and it was sent through email. That is a way for the Commission to understand the work that we do at OECE. We are involved in multiple projects at the same time. So the HRC is just one of the projects we work on. Right now, I'm here at the Hilliard Center. We are having a meeting with residents from the 4 neighborhoods surrounding the university. Our office is supporting the university area planning process and also the Bethel area planning process. So it's about a third of the city right now that we are working with, and multiple meetings and multiple topics and projects running at the same time. If you find some time to read through that message we shared today, you see a good representation of the work we do at OECE. We have a team of 6 and staff with very different background and experience and focus area of their work. But we all collaborate on everything that we do at the office. So that message would give you a taste of what the work we do. Many of the commissions are new and have not had a chance to understand our work in depth. So we hope we can schedule some time with each one of you to discuss any of the projects you may have an interest in, or just to know more about our work and for us to know more about the work that you do and the experience that you bring to the Human Rights Commission. I believe we can include that information with our minutes, so it becomes part of the record for anyone who is interested in the work that our office does. And I would answer any questions if you have on that list of projects as well. And Melissa can share information on some upcoming events that may be of interest to the Human Rights Commission.
Thanks, Fabio. I think well, at least for sure, an event that's coming up is Tuesday, December 17th in the evening from 5:30 to 7:30. I'll be planning a listening session for folks who plan community events or supports our Latinx community. I did send out I will send a save the date out to all the commissioners. But I think this might be of interest to those who are part of We See You and the Multicultural Needs Assessment. So I will keep you all in the loop, and hopefully you can attend and observe. Other than that, I think we are, after this listening session, we are planning additional listening sessions with different community groups. And so hopefully We See You and the Multicultural Needs Assessment can help plan those with me. I think those are the only events. The Kwanzaa events, so I will be sure to share that information once I get it. And then we have these two Human Rights Commission meetings or events that I'll be supporting in December.
Thanks, Melissa. I do want to share information on an event that happened last week. Our office organized a Spanish resource fair. It happened last week, and it involved partners from across the City of Eugene organization and many organizations in the community that serve the Latino population. We had about 30 different organizations attending the event. Everything was offered in Spanish, and we had a forum with our current mayor, the upcoming mayor, the chief of police, and representatives from the Oregon DOJ, and from community organizations as well, answering questions from the Latino community and many questions about protections regarding immigration status. That project started before the pandemic, and our office has been expanding it. This last edition happened at North Eugene High School, and despite of the strong rain that fell last week, we had good participation. And we're also able to get many responses to our community engagement survey. That survey is open until the end of this month. We were lacking some responses from the Spanish-speaking population, and we were able to have 35 people sit and give us information on how they would like to engage with the city, provide feedback on our projects, and receive information from the City of Eugene. As of today, we are close to 900 respondents, and we're still trying to get more responses before we close on November 30th. And we hope to have a report on that at the start of the new year. And with that, if you have any question about the work we are doing right now, I'll be glad to talk more to you about that.
Wonderful. Thanks for that update. And thanks for all the work to include that population and get those responses. That's really exciting. Appreciate all the work and all the events and participation in the community y'all do. Wonderful. Any questions for Office Equity Community Engagement staff? Okay, wonderful. Well, thanks for a really substantive update and a really productive meeting. Our last item on our agenda for this evening is just opening to public comment. So are there any public comment requests in the Q&A?
No requests or sign up.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you for folks that attend. It looked like we had 6 attendees this evening, so it's really wonderful to have you here. Thanks for the coverage and attendance. If anyone doesn't have anything else, we are welcome to move forward with closing our meeting. John, I saw you unmuted.
Chair,
Yeah.
sorry, I just wanna add to what I share about the Spanish Resource Fair. We actually have Beatriz Otero attending as a participant. Beatriz with the auditor's office, and has been one of the staff who came up with the idea of organizing that event and has been supporting it from the beginning.
Hey, thank you, Fabio. Yeah, Beatrice, you're awesome. We appreciate you being here. Okay. Well, if there isn't anything else, we can move to adjourn. Okay. All in favor of adjourning this evening?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay, we'll call it a night. Thanks for a wonderful November meeting, and look forward to connecting with everyone on liaison assignments and planning items. So next month's a couple big events. Stay plugged in. Appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
Take care.
Stay safe, everyone.